The British balloon bomb campaign against Germany came about, as many revolutionary ideas do, quite by accident. It was an operation that is almost unknown today, but one of the most cost-effective campaigns of the entire war. This is the story of Operation Outward. And now a word from our sponsor, The Ridge. Tired of your old wallet? Is it bulky and uncomfortable to carry? The Ridge helps you carry less, but always what you need. Their wallets are sleek, 2 metal plates bound together by a durable elastic band, making them look nothing like your ugly old leather bifold. Titanium, carbon fiber, and aluminium options ensure there's an option for everyone. With 30,000 5-star reviews, it's a wallet I use. With a lifetime warranty and free returns if you don't like it, there are over a dozen different styles and colors to choose from. Get 10% off today with free worldwide shipping and returns by visiting ridge.com/mark. That's ridge.com/mark and use the code MARK. See the link in the description box below. The use of balloons in war was not new in the 1940s. Balloons had been used for over 200 years by that point, but not as weapons. The British Army used observation balloons in the 19th century on campaigns in various parts of the Empire. They were to see particularly widespread use on the Western Front during World War I, permitting artillery spotters to rise high above the battlefield to spot for the guns. But with innovation came dangers. The hydrogen-filled balloons were vulnerable to enemy aircraft and could be shot down relatively easily. But another innovation came out of this situation, the use of parachutes by the observers, who would jump clear before the balloon burned up, an innovation that eventually also spread to the pilots of fighter aircraft as well. But it was the introduction of the barrage balloon that would prove to be the ancestor of the balloon as a weapon. It was a remarkably simple idea. Groups of unmanned balloons tethered to the ground, used to protect towns, cities, and even ships from attack by aircraft. The presence of balloons and their cables forced attacking aircraft to fly higher than intended, and the cables could bring down bombers that attempted to fly through the barrage. Combined with searchlights and anti-aircraft gun batteries, barrage balloons proved effective. And it was an incident with barrage balloons that first gave the British the idea of using balloons as weapons. The night of the 17th to 18th of September 1940, a severe gale caused several barrage balloons to break their moorings. Carried by the prevailing west to east winds, the balloons caused havoc in Europe. In Sweden and Denmark, balloons caught on overhead power lines, shorting out electricity and also interfering with railway operations. One broke the Swedish international radio station's transmitting antenna. When Prime Minister Winston Churchill was given a report on the incident, he saw the potential for disruptive balloon attacks on Germany and occupied Europe, and ordered the Air Ministry to look into it. The Air Ministry was not happy. The Ministry of Aircraft Production was dead against the plan. It argued that balloon weapons would be both ineffective and consume resources needed for aircraft production. But it was the Admiralty that saved the project from oblivion. Captain Gerald Bannister, Director of Boom Defence, thought the plan had real merits. It was largely because of the prevailing west to east wind that favoured British attacks on Germany. The Germans would not be able to make similar attacks on Britain. As the runaway barrage balloons had proved, overhead power lines were very vulnerable to damage. A balloon that dragged a long wire over such cables would short them out. Such damage would have dire knock-on effects for German industry and communications. The Admiralty ran some trials and concluded that there would be between a 10 and 75% chance of a balloon's wire coming into contact with a high-voltage overhead line during a 30-mile or 48-kilometre transit along the ground. As well as power lines, Germany had plenty of forests and heathland, so the British also planned to send balloons equipped with incendiaries, a technique later refined by the Japanese, who launched balloon bombs across the Pacific to attack the western US later in World War II. The Japanese balloons were much bigger and made of paper. They carried a mixed payload of incendiary and anti-personnel bombs, and thousands landed all across the western United States and Canada and even Mexico, but caused little damage and only a handful of casualties. Perhaps unsurprisingly, I've already made a video about the Japanese Fugo or windship weapons. Please do check out the end screen for a link. Causing fires would divert Germans away from productive industries to be employed as fire watchers, or so was hoped, and the Admiralty rebuffed the Ministry of Aircraft Production's argument that a balloon bombing campaign would be too expensive. The Royal Navy had 100,000 unused weather balloons in storage, made from scarce white latex rubber. The balloons were small, at 8 feet or 2.4 meters diameter when inflated with hydrogen. They were fitted with a very simple timing and regulating mechanism. When launched, a slow-burning fuse was lit. The length of the fuse was calibrated to the estimated arrival time over German territory. Initially, the balloon would ascend rapidly to 25,000 feet, or 7,600 meters. Then an internal cord would tighten, releasing some of the gas from the top of the balloon. This would cause the balloon to slowly descend as the gases were evacuated. Then the slow-burning fuse would release a bung in a can of mineral oil. As the oil slowly dripped out, the balloon became lighter, slowing its descent. Then the balloon's weapon could be released. Several different payloads could be carried. A long wire was the most popular. The trailing wire was 700 feet or 210 meters of hemp cord. The cord itself was attached to 300 feet or 91 meters of steel wire hanging from beneath the balloon. The drip of oil from the can would stop and the balloon float along at 1,000 feet or 300 meters, dragging the wire for about 30 miles or 48 kilometers, and hopefully hitting a power line. Incendiary devices could be delivered by the balloons and consisted of 3 basic types. The first was codenamed Beer and was a cylindrical container with 7 or 8 half-pint bottles inside. The bottles, which looked a bit like beer bottles, were actually special incendiary grenades filled with white phosphorus, benzene, water, and raw rubber. The grenades would drop automatically and ignite on shattering. Another weapon, codenamed Jelly, consisted of cans of incendiary jelly, each can holding 1 gallon or 4.5 liters. A fuse ignited it, producing a fireball of 20 feet or just over 6 meters in circumference. The last weapon was codenamed Socks, and were long, thin bags, each weighing 6 pounds or 2.7 kilos, fitted with wood wool soaked in boiling paraffin wax, each balloon carrying 3 of these socks. The balloon weapons were launched by Women's Royal Naval Service or WRENS personnel, with the assistance of Royal Marines and some male naval personnel from HMS Beehive, a shore facility based at Felixstowe Ferry Golf Club in Suffolk on England's east coast, beginning in March 1942. It was dangerous work, and many women were burned handling the balloons when the weapons detonated accidentally. An astounding 99,142 of these balloons were released between the 20th of March 1942 and the 4th of September 1944, causing some damage in Germany. Over 54,000 of the balloons were the wire type, and power outages and damage to overhead cables was reported in Germany, France, Denmark, and elsewhere in occupied Europe. A 1946 report concluded that £54 million damage in today's money was caused, and this was a conservative estimate. German fighters were diverted to try and shoot them down. The cost of each weapon was only £96 in 2019 money, so costing Britain just over £9.5 million in today's money, a very cost-effective offensive indeed. Operation Outward's biggest recorded success was achieved on the 12th of July 1942, when a wire balloon struck a 110 kilovolt power line near Leipzig. A resultant circuit breaker failure at Berlin power station started a huge blaze that destroyed the power station completely. Some forest fires were also reported near Berlin and Tilsit in East Prussia. It was, to say the least, a novel use of the humble weather balloon, but its success would lead to American balloon bomb tests during the Cold War. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share, and also help support my channel at PayPal and Patreon. Details in the description box.